He was richer than Bezos, Musk, and Gates combined. John D. Rockefeller built an oil empire so vast it reshaped the world economy. But what happened to that fortune? The man who once controlled 90% of America's oil became a symbol of both greed and genius. And when he died, his empire was shattered, transformed, and hidden in plain sight. This is the untold story of how the richest man in history built an empire, and how his wealth still controls the modern world. Welcome to our channel. Today we uncover the full story of John D. Rockefeller. Enjoy. Chapter 1. The Rise of an Empire. John D. Rockefeller was not born into wealth. He built it from the ground up. Born in 1839 in Richford, New York, Rockefeller grew up in a modest family that valued hard work, thrift, and discipline. From an early age, he was fascinated by order, numbers, and control, the traits that would one day make him the richest man in American history. In the mid-1800s, as the Industrial Revolution transformed the United States, a new opportunity emerged: oil. Crude oil was the black gold that powered lamps, machines, and progress. But the oil business was chaotic. Prices swung wildly, refineries rose and fell overnight, and competition was brutal. Rockefeller saw what others didn't. Chaos was inefficiency, and inefficiency meant profit for whoever could control it. In the 1860s, he co-founded Standard Oil, a company that would change capitalism forever. Rockefeller believed in vertical integration, owning every step of production, from drilling to refining to distribution. He didn't just want a share of the oil industry, he wanted to organize and dominate it. To crush competition, Rockefeller struck secret rebate deals with railroads, securing lower shipping costs that no rival could match. He bought out competitors, undercut prices, and built pipelines and storage facilities that made Standard Oil untouchable. By 1900, Standard Oil controlled nearly 90% of America's oil refining. It was more than a company, it was an empire. Rockefeller became both admired and feared, a symbol of industrial efficiency to some and a ruthless monopolist to others. His power reached from the oil fields of Pennsylvania to the banks of New York, influencing everything from energy prices to politics. He once said, "Competition is a sin," and he lived by it. Every move was calculated, every dollar accounted for, every rival eliminated. But beneath the success was a storm building. Journalists, politicians, and the American public began to question whether one man should hold that much power. How did Rockefeller's obsession with control make him unstoppable? And would it also lead to his downfall? By the dawn of the 20th century, John D. Rockefeller stood at the top of American industry. His company, Standard Oil, wasn't just powerful, it was untouchable. Rockefeller's empire refined, transported, and sold nearly 90% of all oil in the United States. To many, he was a genius who brought efficiency and order to chaos. To others, he was a monopolist, manipulating markets and crushing anyone who dared to compete. But power on that scale attracts enemies. In 1902, journalist Ida Tarbell, the daughter of an oilman ruined by Rockefeller's tactics, began a relentless investigation. Her groundbreaking series, The History of the Standard Oil Company, exposed Rockefeller's secret railroad deals, price wars, and intimidation tactics. She called him the most hated man in America, and the public agreed. The American people, once in awe of his success, turned against him. Politicians followed. The U.S. government, under President Theodore Roosevelt, began using new antitrust laws to dismantle corporate monopolies that threatened competition. Rockefeller tried to stay out of sight, rarely giving interviews or public statements, but it was too late. The tide of public opinion had turned. In 1911, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Standard Oil was an illegal monopoly and ordered it to be broken up. Overnight, Rockefeller's industrial empire was divided into 34 separate companies, including future giants like Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, and Amoco. To the world, it looked like Rockefeller had finally lost. But behind closed doors, the story was very different. When Standard Oil split, Rockefeller still owned massive shares in every new company. And when those companies' stock prices soared, his personal fortune skyrocketed with them. The breakup that was meant to destroy him actually made him the richest man in the world, perhaps the richest in modern history. Was this defeat, or Rockefeller's greatest victory? Did he lose his empire, or simply transform it into something even more powerful? By the time John D. Rockefeller reached his 50s, he had achieved what no man before him had: control over an entire global industry and a fortune larger than some nations. But as his empire grew, so did public anger. The name Rockefeller had become synonymous with greed, monopoly, and ruthless capitalism. So how does the world's most hated businessman become one of its greatest philanthropists? In the 1890s, as criticism mounted and his health began to fail, Rockefeller started to see his fortune in a different light. Guided by his devout Baptist faith and his trusted advisor Frederick Taylor Gates, he embraced a radical idea that wealth came with a moral duty. He once said, "God gave me my money," but now he sought to prove he could use it for something greater than profit. He began systematically giving away his fortune, not through random charity, but through strategic philanthropy, a new concept at the time. He founded the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research in 1901, which later became Rockefeller University, a world leader in science and medicine. In 1913, he established the Rockefeller Foundation, which would go on to fight diseases, fund education, and support global health initiatives across continents. He also helped create the University of Chicago, transforming it into one of America's premier centers of learning. Through these institutions, Rockefeller reshaped the way the rich gave back. He didn't just donate money, he built systems to create lasting change. But was it redemption or rebranding? Was Rockefeller trying to heal the world, or his reputation? Did guilt drive his generosity, or was it the ultimate act of control, using charity to shape the future just as he had once shaped business? Whatever the truth, his transformation marked the birth of modern philanthropy and redefined how power, money, and morality would forever intertwine. When John D. Rockefeller died in 1937 at the age of 97, the world lost the richest man who had ever lived and gained one of the most enduring mysteries in financial history. What happened to his fortune? Where did all that money go? By the time of his death, Rockefeller's wealth had become so vast that no one could calculate its true value. Adjusted for inflation, it would equal more than $400 billion today, greater than the net worth of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos combined. But Rockefeller's genius wasn't just in making money, it was in preserving it. He had already begun transferring his wealth into family trusts and foundations, ensuring that his fortune would outlive him. His descendants, including John D. Rockefeller Jr. and later generations, didn't just inherit money, they inherited influence. Through their control of the Rockefeller Foundation, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, and key positions in banking, energy, and politics, the family continued to shape world events quietly from behind the scenes. Even after Standard Oil was broken up, the companies it spawned, Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, and others, became the backbone of the modern energy industry. Ironically, the very act meant to destroy Rockefeller's empire only made it stronger. But here's the real question. Did Rockefeller's wealth ever truly disappear? Or did it simply change form? Did his empire die? Or did it evolve into something even more powerful? A web of influence stretching across finance, philanthropy, and politics. Today, the Rockefeller name still carries weight, not through oil, but through ideas, institutions, and investments that quietly steer global policy. His fortune may be scattered, but his legacy remains concentrated in the boardrooms, universities, and foundations that still bear his mark. So maybe the real story isn't how Rockefeller built his empire, but how he ensured it would never die.